Unless you're living on Mars, you know government spending is way out of control. Take a look at the nation's debt clock. It is reaching astronomical levels. Look at that. So could part of the reason for this soaring debt be that Congress just blindly trusts the CBO's data? Remember, the CBO is the one crunching the numbers to tell us how much government programs are going to cost or save us. Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Tim Murphy says the CBO should be more transparent, and he's presenting a bill today that says just that. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you.
What does your bill include? What exactly is it going to do?
Well, it's important to understand the Congressional Budget Office was created in 1974 because at that time, the White House had all the power of analyzing the budget, and the House and Senate had to just rely on them. But in '74, they passed a bill and said, look, we're going to create our own office, we're going to do our own analysis, because the Constitution says these things have to start in the House. Well, what has happened over time is the Congressional Budget Office has developed tremendous power. We have a rule in the House that any bill brought before the House has to be scored or evaluated by the CBO. They tell us if it's going to be neutral, cost money, lead to more money in government, whatever that is, and the House relies on it.
As a matter of fact, you don't trust them, though. You don't trust the numbers?
Well, think of it this way. We don't know what the numbers are. Remember back when you were taking math classes as a youngster, the teacher would say, write your answer in here, but show your work.
Right.
And if you didn't show your work, well, the CBO doesn't have to show their work. Time after time, Republicans, Democrats, everybody on Capitol Hill is frustrated. They introduce a bill, and the CBO comes up with some number. And we say, how did you come up with that number? What did you use your analysis? What formula did you use? Who did you talk to? And the CBO, they don't tell us any of that information.
What are you going to do with it after that? Because, you know, I am a math and numbers gal, but it strikes me I talk to a lot of people from Congress who aren't necessarily that great. Are you going to re-crunch the data? What are you going to do with it?
Well, that can be something. Let's say they came up with a formula and they put some parts in there, or they omitted some other parts in their analysis. What members of Congress can then do, and the public can do, is scrutinize that on these issues. Whether it's questions of how much the health care bill is really going to cost or not cost. Will a tax have an impact, positive or negative, on other federal revenues? There's all sorts of questions that we don't have the answers to. If you go to the CBO website and look up any bill there where they give you a score, they simply say, here's the number. Some of them even say no significant impact upon the budget, but you can't find out how. So we want all that information to be transparent.
Do you feel like you personally have people on your staff that could then go into that data and say and go through it line by line? Because I've looked at reports like this and it's not easy. You feel like you personally have the manpower to go in and then read through these documents again and come up with different numbers?
I don't think any individual office has that ability. Sometimes they do, depending upon the type of bill. But this very easy-to-read bill, it's a page and a half long, the substance about a paragraph, so every member of Congress can read it before they vote on it. And it's one that you really look at a number of organizations out there who do have the capacity to crunch some numbers and say, this is missing or this is in it.
Yeah.
My training is in science, and when I would write articles for medical journals, you always had to have a section there on results, exactly what formula you use and what's the data. The CBO doesn't tell us any of that right now. I want this transparency back so Congress and the people can relook at how they came up with these numbers. Is it good or bad? Is it going to cost us more, save us money? Let's know the facts.
No, it's a great idea. I was looking back at, like you said, CBO founded almost 40 years ago to produce, quote, independent, nonpartisan, timely analysis of economic and budgetary issues to support the congressional budget process. Do you think that maybe they're not nonpartisan?
Well, there's sometimes I hear people on both sides of the aisle make that accusation. And the way around that is show us your work.
Okay.
Show us the numbers. What formula did you have? And that way we'll know for sure.
Congressman Murphy, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure. I'll be interested to follow this story.
You bet.